Hey, thanks for tuning in to That Husband Podcast with me, Black Newborn. On today's episode, we have Bruce Mackenzie, and we speak about him being married for 33 years. He speaks about dating this one woman that he's been with. He's never dated anybody else. How does that look like, especially considering our dating climate right now? Not only that, but how did he deal with a crucial point in his marriage when his wife was diagnosed with a particular illness? After 33 years, he reflects on what he can still do better as a husband. All of that on today's episode. Hey, what's up? Welcome to That Husband Podcast with me, Black Newborn. Here we are husbands who aren't where we want to be, but certainly are not where we used to be. We are imperfect, always failing forward, trying to know better so that we can do better. Hey, what's up? Welcome to That Husband Podcast with me, Black Newborn. This is where husbands try to know better so that we can do better. Before we get into this episode, I just have two things to bring to your attention. Number one, if you've been enjoying this content that we're making and you found value from it, please support us by buying us coffee. It's not a big ask. There's a link in the comment section that you can click. You can buy us 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5 coffees, however many coffees you want to buy us, so that we are energized to keep on making more of this content. It will be of great help to us. Number two, if you're planning an event and you're looking for a face and a voice for your event, somebody who's not just going to carry the vision for your event, but your message, and make it a really incredible experience for you, and especially for those that you are inviting, please do consider booking me as an MC at Black Newborn, rather at booking at blacknewborn.com. That's booking at blacknewborn.com. The husband that's sitting across the table from me today is Bruce Mackenzie. True husband for real, true theologian for real. You can see with the beard, right?
Well, all the good guys have beards, didn't they?
What's up, Bruce?
It's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. You know what they say, you know how a guy is a true theologian by the size of his beard. So you know more of God than me.
Oh,
I've been getting this, not getting anywhere.
Well, the rule is just don't cut it.
I see.
You just let it grow.
Yeah. It's that easy, guys. Don't cut it.
Don't cut it.
That's good, man. Thank you so much for coming through and being here with us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming for me. I remember the first time. It wasn't the first official time we met, but I think when I found out that you've been married for as long as you've been married, it was probably a couple of months ago. And I was like, sheesh, we need to talk about that. And that's why I invited you. And I have tons of questions, not just for me, but I know a lot of young husbands who need sages like you.
I think you're overstating that thing slightly. The sage, but hey, let's tackle this.
So before we get into the conversation, for those who are joining us for the first time, we're compiling this resource for husbands who are lonely, who don't have a community of brothers that they're walking with, or husbands who just are struggling and need some encouragement. And sometimes we speak of these husbands who show up, who fail forward, who take accountability, as though they're fictional characters, but they're real. They're there. And so we just want to put their names in a book, their stories particularly, so that we can encourage guys. We want to make this resource for free, so that we can get it in as many hands as possible. And so how do we fill the pages? We basically ask our guests for 2 husbands that have inspired them to get married, or husbands that inspire you to stay married. So who are those guys for you?
Yeah, man, growing up, I was blessed because I was in a good church community where we had a lot of great father, husband figures, and I think there's 2 people that stand out for me right now. One would be my own father, because I think he just modeled love for my mum throughout their days, and they were married over 50 years. I can't even remember how long, but a long time. And then, I think of others, like there was my youth leader when I was growing up as a teenager and then into young adult life. His name was Mike Taylor. And just a great example to me. I remember I would go there and sit at their table with them and the family on Tuesday evenings, and it was just always an exciting time. So I think I had a lot of role models, and those were a couple of the guys that really impacted me.
Sure. When you speak about Mike, did you know at that point that you wanted to be married, or when you saw him and his family?
I think I knew that I wanted to be married. I think when I think of marriage, and especially back in those days, I was young when I got married, 22. So it was a youngster. And I think my wife was my first girlfriend.
Sure.
And somehow I'd learned, and I think it was just the way, I don't know if it was the discipleship or the way people were teaching me, but I just learned that I wanted to be, the girl I was looking for, I wanted to be my wife. So I wasn't looking to have a girlfriend just for the sake of having a girlfriend.
Sure.
And I don't know who taught me that.
Yeah.
My brothers never did that. They all had girlfriends.
Yeah.
But I had one, and she became my wife.
Sheesh. It's great, man. I think there's a lot to unpack just on that one note, especially considering the dating culture that we find ourselves in now, where obviously that whole test drive, somebody before you marry them I think that's always been there, but I think we've seen, more of that, especially now with online dating and the various platforms that are there. I think dating has become, a beast that's uncontrollable compared to probably when you guys were growing up. You spoke about your brothers. How many brothers did you have?
So I've got 3 brothers and a sister.
Okay.
So I was number 3 in the family out of 5 children.
Okay. You the middle child.
The middle one, the one that was ignored. So much rejection along the way.
I have a theory that middle children are either extreme. They're never in the middle, like temperament wise. They're either like very friendly people, or they're people that we just don't want to be around. So I don't know where do you fit in?
There was this ongoing joke in the family that I was my mum and dad's favorite son, and that will still go around. I will still tell my brothers that. No, that really, I think. I guess I flew under the radar on some things because I could. And I got away with some things, but also got into trouble for a hangover like that. My brothers should have got into trouble for.
Obvious question, Bruce. Somebody's watching this, they're probably thinking, how old is this guy?
27 plus a few years. 56 years old. I hit the 56-year mark last month. Yeah.
It's great, man.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, there's a question I have that I'll ask you about getting older. But,
I don't want to believe it, but I have to accept it.
It's here. So maybe let's start here. So you date your girlfriend and you marry her. How is dating? So you've been married now for 33 years.
33 years, yeah.
Yeah, that's massive. Digital hand claps for everybody who's watching. That's big, man.
I just say that's grace. I tell you what.
That's
God's grace.
And that's why you're on this particular podcast, because we don't believe the superheroes here.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So 33 years ago, can you set us up in terms of what the dating scene is? And again, you said earlier on, nobody convinced you to just date one girl and marry her. But like, what's going on? Are people regularly going out? Are people, having multiple girlfriends at this point? Like, how's the climate for you as a 22-year-old?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was interested in girls, obviously. And I would take a girl out, let's go for a meal, and we'd sit down and have something. But my question was always in my head, is this somebody I could marry? and that was my life. And I would look at her, and then afterwards, until Jenny, it was like, nah. And many of those stayed friends with me. Yeah. We were friends.
Yeah.
But when I met Jenny, I think it was different. There was something else there, and I met her, and we probably saw each other regularly for I would say probably 5 months. And when I say regularly, it was at least weekly or more. We'd go around to her house and so on. And so I think once she had finally agreed, because I had to ask her twice, once she finally agreed to be my girlfriend, I think then it was, we probably a day never went by when we weren't seeing each other.
Yeah.
I was at her place, she was over at my place. We'd be on the bus together or traveling to work together. Sure. It was just that regular thing. I think people did it. They would go out it's much the same, I guess, in some ways. There wasn't that different. When I think of my parents' era with girlfriends, they had to get permission from parents to date, and from other people. We just kind of did it. Sure. But I'm grateful that we had people around us who could keep an eye on us as well. We needed it.
Yeah. So what was different about her? You said there was something different about her.
I think it's hard to know what it was that was different. It was just different. I just knew that this was somebody I could spend my life with. Funny enough, we had been in the same primary school, and when I was in primary school, in the same church. And then her father, who was also a pastor, had moved away, come back, and this is after we were both in working life at that time. Yeah. And it was quite when I just met her, it was in a music store, and we just really enjoyed each other. There was something that we just started connecting. Sure. And I think from the first time we met properly like that to later, I think there was probably a couple of months from the first meeting to when we started seeing each other regularly. But when we started seeing each other regularly, I guess we could have probably been looked at as a boyfriend and girlfriend already at that stage. But yeah, it's a great memories, because I remember her dancing on stage in primary school, and she was a year ahead of me at school. Wow. So I had that connection. I don't know why, but I always knew the name Jenny.
Sure. Dancing girl.
Yeah. Highland dancing as well.
That's right. That's great, man. I was just thinking about people who were born in the 2000s. They're probably wondering what a music store is. There used to be stores that sell music. We didn't wake up and go to Spotify, right? Or iTunes. There were places called Musica. What's the other one? It had a double name.
I remember. I can't remember that one now.
Yeah, but Musica was a big one. So we'd actually go buy CDs, kids. Or
it was a real thing. Yeah, vinyls, cassettes, and then I remember buying the first CD I bought. It was crazy. Yeah.
So part of my excitement for this conversation was obviously, I think, having to relive some of the memories. For somebody who's been married as long as you have, been married for 10 years this year, but we always have this nagging question: Are we gonna make it to 33? Are we gonna make it to 20? Are we gonna make it to 40? And I think it's just a blessing to have guys like you still alive, been married for that long, that we can just be like, hey man, we know that you don't have all the answers, but you've done this thing. So where can we get encouragement from, especially in the moments where we feel like, I'm not going to make it. And particularly for husbands, because that's why I make this content, for guys, the I know this especially from my own marriage, where my wife would say, "What after years, maybe even like 2 or 3 years, I didn't know that you were struggling with that thing," and then I feel like I should have said, but in the moment, I just feel this weight over me as a husband to say, if I burden you with this, it might throw you off. So let me just hold on to this, and so there's many things that husbands, I think, hold on to just because they don't want to burden their wives. But to have another husband who's walked the journey as long as you have, it just feels like, okay, I can offload and just be like, Bruce, man, help me. Will I get there? If I'm falling along the way, can I just have comfort to know, hey, listen, it's okay. Things will be better. As much as our journeys might be different, but I think just to glean from your own wisdom and to get encouragement as well. So maybe we could go back to the wedding day. If you would teleport, go back in time, what would you say to 22-year-old Bruce? How old was your wife?
23.
23, Jenny.
Yep, Jenny.
What would you say to them in their dressing rooms as they're getting ready to meet each other in the church?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think the one thing I'd probably say is just remember you're becoming one. And it's that oneness that for me is, and Jenny and I have tried to apply that throughout our married lives, to think and live as one. I think it's a great biblical principle that isn't applied as readily today as what it should be, because of our individualism and in our lives. And I think, so looking back, that would be one thing I would be saying again and again. Like just, you're becoming one. You're not living as Bruce and you're not living as Jenny. You're living as Bruce and Jenny now, as a single unit. So the thinking needs to change. Just the way you approach life and needs to be thought differently. So I think that's one of the big things that I would aim for.
Sure. What happened in those moments where you didn't live as one, for you particularly as a husband?
Yeah, and I think those are probably more frequent than we care to realize, because we grow selfish and we grow self-centered, and we care about ourselves and our own feelings more than we do the one we're married to. And I think in those times, you're breaking something in that marriage relationship, that marriage bond, the marriage covenant, that we need to get back to as quickly as possible. And so I can't say it's been a brilliant ride. I think my wife has excelled better than I did in some things, which it's to my shame that I even say that. Sure. It's like because she was so ready to say sorry, and she was always more ready to address issues. I'm the guy who's going to avoid as much of the tension as possible, and I'll just go to sleep and wake up tomorrow morning as if it's a new day.
Let's just fist bump.
It's like, let's go. But she was always, just excellent and is excellent in doing those things. So our journey has been one where we've had to apply this, for numerous reasons. But it's been quite a journey of learning that again and again.
Sure. When you look back at all of those years, earlier on you had said, your wife tends to be the one who apologizes quicker than you do. There might have been other decisions that you made, as much as you might have made them together, but they might have affected either party, either you or your wife, in a way that it took the individual longer to, accept or even get over, if there was any necessity for them to get over that. But how do you then look back on some of those challenging moments? Not beat yourself, because the thing has happened, but also be very empathetic towards your wife if you did wrong to her, or maybe not even directly doing wrong to her, but she probably had a hard time accepting a decision or even living with a certain decision. So just as a husband, how do you not beat yourself and look back at those moments with a soberness to say, hey man, I did do wrong. This might have affected my wife and she's probably taken years to deal with this thing. I mean, I know that for myself. Again, 10 years is, just a fraction. It's probably nothing compared to 33 years. But there's moments where I look back and I'm like, sheesh, that's hard. How do I even broach the subject? Now a couple of years have passed and I've seen how this thing has affected my wife. Yeah, how have you dealt with that?
Yeah, and I think there's definitely been times like that, especially when I haven't been sympathetic towards her, and it's possibly not as much in terms of decision making as in possibly relationships that have been built, and I guess friendships that in my mind were nothing in terms of but it's another lady and being too friendly to another lady without thought for how my wife is feeling. And I think those would be probably the things that I have at times where haven't been gracious enough with my wife or thoughtful enough towards her, and realizing, wait, that wasn't helpful. And she has expressed it, and I think my slowness sometimes is also I'm not the sharpest guy, sharpest knife on the block there. So I think at times it's been really slow, but I'm just thankful for the grace and the commitments that we've got. Sure. Because that has kept us going, I think. The recognition that I haven't won. I'm not like the most amazing husband, but we've sought to love each other through thick and thin, and it's been a ride. I can't say we're not like a volatile marriage. We're quite happy, and we're happy. We've always lived in close and worked closely together in life. But there have been times when I haven't been thoughtful of her, and we've needed to talk about those things.
Sure. Yeah, I just thought of two things. One, my wife always says that, so you're not the only slow husband, but my wife says that it's hard for men to see when a lady's flirting with them, especially committed husbands.
Because we like it. But it's not good for us, but we like it.
Yeah. I'm like, was she flirting? My wife was like, she was. I'm like, I was just being friendly. I was just being friendly as well.
Well, that's the problem. I think when I'm even talking, I don't even think it's necessarily ladies flirting with me. It's probably even, it could have been me flirting with them more. So it's a recognition. I think the danger sometimes is we always look at the other person and go, no, that's always from there to me. That's their fault. It's like I was just this innocent party, but we really do enjoy that, and we entertain it in our hearts. And I think that for me is my challenge. It's like it brings the responsibility onto me, and not just it doesn't just put it onto somebody else. Like if some guy has an affair, you can't say, "Oh no, man, she flirted with me," and I just didn't know. I just couldn't help it.
I'm an innocent bystander.
Yeah. So, and I think it's just I'm really, really, really grateful. Nothing ever evolved into anything. There was genuine friendships that my wife and I were friends. But I think it maybe got too friendly for her. Even though I didn't even think that. It was just lack of awareness of my wife and what her needs really.
Sure. Yeah. The second thing I was thinking of in light of that was this video that's going around TikTok. So this couple has been grocery shopping. So they're in the car now. The wife is complaining to the husband. And why is it that lady at the till, when I look at her, she's not smiling. But when you look at her, and she smiles. Is there something going on between you two?
Yeah.
And then she goes on this rant about how she will not fight with anyone unless it's concerning her man. And she's like, you need to turn this car around. Going back to ShopRite because I need to deal with that lady.
Yeah.
So I just thought of that now, man. But I guess those are really, that's a tough thing to deal with. And, sorry to interrupt your viewing. We will shortly get back to that episode because obviously there's a lot of dopeness in there, right? But before we go back there, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you're updated on all the episodes that we are dropping, right? Here's the thing. There's a lot of value. There's a lot of gems. There's a lot of dopeness that comes out of this. What do we want to do? We want to bless you with more dopeness, give you more gems, right? And with that, check out what's coming out next week.
There's been a lot of ill health through the years. And that's just, for me, it's been like, how do I love my wife? Because you're not going to get your let's say sexual needs met as frequently as you would like. And I have to work through that.
Sure.
I have to and guard myself through that. But I've got to love my wife through that.
But I guess those are really, that's a tough thing to deal with. And, for the fact that you guys are, 33 years in and you could even recognize that, I think for me, I think gives encouragement to husbands, again, to say, hey, listen, just a healthy level of honesty. And a brutal honesty as well with your wife, with yourself, is part of the key ingredients that keep you going in this thing. If I'm going to be committed to somebody, if we are going to be one, part of that oneness means I expose myself, I expose my flaws, my temptations, so that we can actually last longer. Because the more I hide, Satan could use that. That
Definitely.
could easily be something that I play into if I don't expose that to my wife. But even with that point, Bruce, maybe just advice here. How do you navigate being, totally honest with your wife, and knowing certain things that might, if you share those things, might throw her off? So I know women enjoy security, and not just financial security, but they want to be secure financially, emotionally, home-wise, relationally. They want to be secure. But there might be other things that you share with me as a brother where I'm like, yeah, see, that's a bit heavy, but I can walk with you and hold your hand. And then you think, if I go share this with my wife, it's probably going to spike her insecurities. She might not be able to move in a freedom that she enjoys. She might, now every single time my phone rings, she might think, is it that thing again, or whatever the case is. Is there a balance? Should we just go full on and just be like, hey, let me totally expose myself, or are there things that I can, some deep dark secrets that I just reserve for my brothers?
And I think there's a hang of a lot of wisdom that's needed in all of this. Yeah. It depends which platform one is standing on will determine a lot. I think in our lives, we've had to navigate that a little differently, being in doing the work that we do. Pastoral ministry, there's been a lot of openness, but I've also realized this: I can't tell her everything that I'm facing or everything that I'm dealing with, because I need to guard her as well. I mean, so for my wife in 2004, she was diagnosed with MS, so multiple sclerosis, and so her health has been up and down, and her energies have been up and down. So I need to walk alongside her in that and be loving to her in that, but also recognize that not everything that I'm dealing with needs to go to her. And I guess, your question may be more on the personal life of the man. And I think it depends what it is. I think if there's something that's going to have a really negative impact on the relationship, man, you've got to deal with that.
Sure.
And whatever needs to be done for the sake of the marriage, that needs to be done. I feel often we are preserving our bank balances when we think like, when we come to things like that. We're thinking of preserving our possessions. We're thinking of preserving, the wealth or something else. And that's just an indication of what's become our God. Not that our wife is our God, but I think when we are preserving that over our marriage relationships, and as a husband, I need to be thinking like this. There's something wrong, because I remember listening to a pastor, Wayne Cordero, speaking, and he's just going like, you fail, you can fail in your work, you can fail in your ministry, you can fail in those things, but if you're still not a failure. But if you fail with your marriage, that's something different.
Sure.
It's like you're the qualifications of the things that are being looked up to, and if we have failed there for whatever our own doing, not necessarily what somebody else has done, but I think that's quite a sobering reality, that like a lot of people they'll fail in their marriage and they'll be successful in everything else, and then they think they're successful. If you failed there, I think that's the most basic area of life that we've got to strive to maintain and preserve. It doesn't mean it's easy. I think we know that, but I do feel it's like important that we check our value systems, we check our priorities in life, and go, it's like, what am I after? Like, we want to get our kids into that school. We want to do that. 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 We want to drive that car. We want to live in that house. And it's like all of that is secondary.
Sure.
The whole lot.
Wow.
Because but my wife, that isn't. And we used to say to our children, even growing up, when it comes to discipline, we'd say, you're not the center of this home. And I remember saying to them, it's like, you're going to leave. Yeah. Mom and I are going to stay.
Yeah.
So you don't push yourself into the middle here. Because that was our concern, is that we were to maintain our marriage relationship.
Yeah. But that's you just dropped the bomb. I could just hear a lot of bombs going off in people's households right now. Maybe I don't know if this is light, but coming to terms with growing up. And a lot of things are said around the woman looking after herself. When you get married, don't let go of yourself.
Yeah.
Don't, for the husband, make sure that you're still taking your wife out on dates, etc., etc. But I don't know if this happens, and that's why you're here as the sage, to
you really are overstating that one.
But at some point, did you look at yourself and think, sheesh, I wonder if my wife finds me attractive as I get older? Or you just like, that's inconsequential, don't think about that stuff, whatever.
I really think I'm too stupid to be asking questions like that. Like, I haven't. I don't remember asking myself that question.
Sure.
I think I've thought around, maybe getting older and just sometimes looking in the mirror and going, I'm old. Now, my kids tell me I'm old. But I can't remember that. I think we just, we've just pushed on in marriage. We haven't done date nights as often as we should, as what people say we should. You know, there's the Bible and there's the other Bible that tells you all the rules.
Guys, you don't have to take your wives out on dates. That's what Bruce is saying.
But we spend a lot of time in the same space.
Yeah,
sure. And because our lives, you know, just been wrapped up in life and the work and what we do. So, yeah, there's a lot of time together. Even watching TV, but it's in the same room, it's in the same space. And I put priority on that because I know that I'm out the house a lot. So when I'm home, you know, we can be somewhat present together, having, you know. But I think it's been it's a journey. I don't have the perfect answer to any of these things. Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. I think all that you're sharing with us is really helpful. And I think for me as well, personally, just answering some questions that I had, and been wanting to engage somebody who's older, who's been married longer. And one that I'm thinking of now is particularly around leadership and discipleship. You know, that's been a pain point for me in my marriage. First week of marriage, so back from honeymoon, first thing we thought about was Colossians chapter 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Big blowout.
Oh, wow. Who was right?
God. So, big blowout. You know, I'd come back from honeymoon, you know, listen to all the great preachers, have conversations with guys, looking forward to a time where I'm just going to sit and read the Bible with my wife. And, you know, she asked me a question, which I had been asked questions many times, again, because of my work. But I just thought it's a normal question, you know. So I answered the question, didn't sit well with her. She left, literally got up and left.
Oh, wow.
And so that's just been a pain point ever since. And, you know, you have conversations with many other husbands and they're like, yeah, man, I read the Bible with my wife when I can. Or and then there's like, you know, super great theologians with longer beards than yours who are like, yeah, every morning. That's what we do with my wife. You know, we just finished, you know, every book by Luther, and we read it, you know, cover to cover. And then I'm just like, sheesh, I'm such a worm. Yeah. How's that for you?
Yeah. Let me give you some great insight into this sageliness. So through the years, the one thing that we haven't done well is praying together like every day or regularly, or reading Bible together and things. And I think there's a few different reasons for that. I know there are, and some of these can be excuses. So if you want to read your Bible with your wife, do it. It's a good thing. Just say that. But in terms of, I've been in pastoral ministry for 28 years or something like that.
Sure.
And that has often involved excessive amounts of work. So where we actually I was working too hard. And because of that, we broke routine. I get home for supper and then I'd be out again. Then the second thing that happened was when my wife got ill. So that threw out a whole lot. So I was often getting to bed later than my wife then, and then earlier than her. So we weren't that space that you would normally give to that. So we weren't eating breakfast together. Supper, but that was with the kids and everybody. We'd always pray together. So we've never done well there. But I've always we talk about it. We encourage each other. And I think in my mind, when my wife got ill, there was something that was good for her in that. And it awakened something in her own spiritual walk in life, which I was thrilled about as well. It's been a journey, but her spiritual health is strong. And so we can sit and we can talk about spiritual things. It's not like we never do that, but it's not a routine of ours, and it's just been difficult to rebuild it. I do find that probably the hardest person for me to pray with is my wife. And I do think that's a spiritual thing. I think it's the Satan wants to break that. We do pray, and I try and, especially when she's not well, or where there's needs around with the kids or something. We're in a church life, and there's needs all the time. So we do pray together, and I have to actively take myself to that place and do that. So, after all these years, you'd think it'd be so natural and so just ordinary.
Yeah.
The ordinary
your job.
The ordinary Christian life. I just pray with my wife. Our lives are just so dandy. Everything's so easy, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
And it's a real. I have to actively do it.
Yeah.
And I've looked around and I've thought a lot about this as well. And I think there's a lot of, we look at the heroes, we have our heroes, and we've got, the guys who do all these things and do them so well, they get written about. So the rest of them are struggling.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's probably a lot of reality.
Yeah.
And, my heart is for my wife's spiritual well-being.
Yeah.
Should I be praying more with her? I would say yes. Should I be reading the Word with her? Yes. I'm not trying to make excuses. I just think it's a reality. But I don't want to settle with mediocre either.
Yeah.
I do, I work with a prayer list. My wife is on the top of every day, every single day. Nobody else gets every day, but Jenny does, so that I can keep my heart as alert and sensitive to her.
Yeah.
And I pray that God would help me to do that. Even after all these years, the selfish nature in Bruce just wants to creep up and just get all angry with, why am I not loved like I want to be loved? But it's like, why am I not loving like I should be loving? The command in the scriptures in Ephesians is, love your wife, Bruce.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not commanded to make your wife submit to you.
Sure.
You're commanded to love your wife.
Come on.
So go and do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I need grace for. Every day.
That's a whole episode in its own. This whole idea of submission and being called to love our wives. Yeah, that's great. That's great encouragement. You spoke about love now, and loving your wife. How many times have you fallen in and out of love?
Hey.
Are there seasons where you like...
You're just opening a whole thing there. No, there's... that whole idea of falling in love is very emotional and feeling based.
Yeah.
And the thing I've learned through the years is that that decision level of loving, as opposed to the feeling. Because if you're going to want to feel in love all the time, Satan's going to make sure you don't feel that.
Come on.
I really feel that we miss some of the spiritual warfare dynamic in marriages. So why are so many marriages under attack? Why are so many people feeling these ups and downs? Because we've idolized our feelings sometimes, and we're going like, when I feel it or I don't. So have we felt in love and out of love? Absolutely, all the time. But probably a lot of the marriage relationship is not the feeling of love. It's that commitment. I get up and I'm going to love this woman because she's my wife and she's the one that God has given to me. She's a beautiful lady. She really is. That's the one thing. It's like, this face got a beautiful lady. And I marvel at that, but that doesn't make me fall in love. And I think what I see in her, the depth below what's on the outside is it does more for my heart and my well-being than feeling enamored and just from an exterior sort of perspective, like, oh, check this hot woman that I've got, you know. And it's funny how we talk about our wives sometimes, because it's like I think to treat her as a person rather than an object is much more healthy.
Sure.
It's like for me to value her, because there's a lot that she's getting old. Like, so am I. It's amazing. We think what attracts us and what the world is saying. Like, we need to be in love with what's really hot. Yeah. And so all the magazines, all the media, everything is there. That's the whole porn industry is based on something that's exterior. You've not valued anything of the person. You've valued just the shape. And I can't afford to just value the shape. I've got to value the person. And I think that's been the thing, because I can fall in love with her again and again and again like that. My times of not being in love are often just my own self. I really think that. It's like when I'm not content, or I'm not feeling... Yeah, I feel I deserve more. It's like just that self-centeredness. It's ugly. The ugly stuff starts to show. I feel less in love, but that's me. It's not her.
Sure.
So I think that's, for me, it's been. I remember. I don't know if we even should be using the name, but Mark Driscoll being around, and but I remember him saying, like, whatever your wife is, that's who you're into.
Wow.
And it's like, so whatever your wife is like, that's the object that you are into.
Yeah.
And we've got to train our minds to go, that's who I love.
Yeah.
That's who I'm giving myself to.
Sure.
And whether I feel it, like feel all mushy, I think that's probably less, even nowadays. But man, I have this knowledge. I love this woman, and I choose to love her above other women. I will not love another woman like I love her. Yeah. And we've tried to put practical stuff here. So here's one thing we've done through the years, and I think this is that oneness thing that I started with. Yeah. We refuse to allow the word divorce to come into an argument or discussion. It's not even allowed to feature, and we never have. So it's never. That means it's never been. We've never given permission for that to be a thought in our lives.
Wow, that must have been hard.
Well, it wasn't. Not if you've made the decision.
Because I'm saying, at some point, doesn't it cross your mind? But then you like, I need to kill this thought.
We don't allow it. It's like, it's not allowed to be part of our vocabulary.
That's great, man.
So knowing that for each other, it provides security. The one person I trust 100% in my life is my wife.
Wow.
I've never had reason to doubt her.
Wow.
I don't know. She might have a different story, but that's from my side. I feel I've never had reason to doubt her and her love for me.
Wow, that's great, man. Sure.
Yeah, I think it should be normal.
I told you you're a sage. That's great. Yeah, that's great. That's practical advice, man. And I would even say, because I've seen some ugly fights with couples, and not just the thought of divorce being entertained, but like a real taste for it. That like it's not just a thought anymore, but I can tell that I'm ready to go sign those papers.
And you see, I think the challenge there is we have to love our wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine him wanting to divorce his
Whew.
church.
Whew.
So if that's can't even feature in that,
Whew.
why should it feature in my relationship with my wife?
And Jesus knows what he died for.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Sheesh. Yeah, that you just took it to where the standard is supposed to be. Oh, yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah, no, it's a journey that
Yeah.
it's. I mean, that's why I also think it's God's grace that sustains that commitment.
Sure. No, that's great advice. I was just thinking now.
I want them to know that this is possible. That this world that's got so much chaos, it's possible to love your wife well. It's possible to grow old together and possibly senile together. I don't know. It's a good possibility.
Yeah.